Welcome back to the Elk Lodge.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes, it's a spooky day around
sure
here.
Is. I hope you're feeling very spooky today.
Yes.
Cheers, boo.
Cheers.
What are we drinking here? This is a Christine Donnelly original creation.
It's actually a affogato, I believe is the word. It's more of an Italian creation made with Trader Joe's salted maple syrup ice cream. And let me tell you, it is fucking fantastic.
It's fucked up how
You're
good it is.
drinking it hot. I'm drinking it cold. It's hard to decide which one's better. Maybe there's no sense to compare. You can have it all. If you visit hexacoffee.com, you can check out using promo code ELK and get 10% off your whole purchase. Get all the beans you want and try a little coffee affogato for a treat. It's delicious.
Yeah, Hexa is good year-round, but it feels extra good around this time of the year. This feels like Hexa's season.
Oh, my God.
Spooky. And today on the show, we have our good friend, John Mason.
Yes, that was awesome. So Paul and John had just traveled a few weeks back to do some recording up at this awesome studio that they rented. And it was cool hearing more about the project and the creative process and kind of catching you guys on the come down from the other side of this creative week you had.
Yeah, I believe on last week's episode with JC, we were about to embark on this trip. I don't know if we talked about it or not.
That makes sense.
The true Elkies will know. And we had a great time. John has been on the show before, but like with a group, never just solo John. It was a very good time. Check him out, johnmasonmusic.com, at John Mason Music on Instagram. I'm rocking a John Mason merch shirt in the episode. Love John.
Stay tuned for that new album. It's very buttery.
Super butter. You got anything else there, my little spookums?
I think that's it.
Enjoy the show.
Where did AJ go?
He's back in the studio.
I feel like he's my handler today. He's like picked me
We'll
up
take
and
good care of you, okay?
delivered me.
You can stand on my arm if you need to.
All right. Hey, let's pop the champagne.
Yeah,
Where do we start?
You know what?
John?
It's a good night for.
Well, this is the nicer one, and I'm judging that purely on the price. I have no idea what it's like. This is the cheaper one, but it has a J on it.
J for John.
So
I'm gonna let
this
you.
was my
John
present
Mason.
for you guys.
Let's do the gift.
Should you do the gift?
I think let's start fancy.
All right.
But if we drink that whole thing, we're not even gonna appreciate this.
Maybe, but I only put that one in the freezer.
Well.
And I already opened this one, so we're in for a bit of a party, I guess.
Celebration. We're giving thanks.
Yes.
What would you like to give
Thank you,
thanks
by the way,
for?
for this gift, which is actually itself a gift, a thank you gift.
Thank you, guys.
So to fill people in, we just
So much gratitude.
last
Jeez
week-
Louise.
a lot of graciousness,
That's
a lot of
great.
gratitude. Last week, well, what was it? Just a week ago? 7 days ago? Life is happened so fast. I think maybe even less than a week ago, we were all in Washington. Christine did not come, but I flew up to Washington. JC and I met up with John. Also, our friend Jade Lahan, who we had not seen in a long time, came with. And we were recording some...
Wait, I'm
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, let's make sure we get a nice loud... Ho! That was actually very not loud. Yeah. I was watching the thing to see you clip it, but it did not clip. But yeah, you rented a insane studio in Washington, and we recorded some of your new songs.
Yeah.
Or perhaps some of them are
I'm
old
to
songs.
top it up again. It's good to. I don't know. It's a bit of a blur, mate. I slept for the first time last night. That's why I'm a little slow on the uptake today.
Do you function better without the sleep? You're so not used to
No.
sleeping that sleeping has now caused you to be...
my body's confused.
Right. They're like, what happened? Are we okay?
We're good, no.
Is something wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, the champagne will help, I'm
What
sure.
was the name of this studio again? It was called...
Sage Arts.
Sage Arts.
Sage Arts. That place looked so cool.
Yeah, it's
Paul
basically...
was sending like updates of like, this is the closest to the dream like my dream I've ever seen.
Did you go down to the river?
I didn't go down the river. What's my
You
problem?
didn't go down to the river?
I didn't go down to the river. I was busy slapping the skins.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then when I wasn't slapping the skins, I was drinking. But yeah, it's this like, basically this guy built from zero an insane studio in the woods in Washington.
I would describe it as a castle in a castle.
A castle
Right, it's like a
squared.
giant property. There's a little house. There's a bunch of little
There's
cabins.
a bunch of little, yeah.
There's even a couple like just normal, whatever. But and then the sort of marquee is the studio, which is certainly the nicest studio I've ever been, like recorded in or been in. Even
I've been to some fantastic studios, and that one is easily the best.
Wow.
We're talking
top
like-
notch.
It's better than Abbey Road when I went in there.
wow.
Like the gear selection is insane, but the sound of the room is like.
The sound of the room, the pianos. It was. I'm so glad Nate diverted us from that one piano and went
That
for the
one
warmer.
Steinway.
Yeah,
And
to the
he's
other
like,
Steinway.
Why don't you just try this Steinway? And then we panned slightly to the right. Oh yeah. Well, we'll
the
try
other
that one.
Steinway. And we're like, yes, this Steinway is a bit warmer.
But
Like,
there's another one outside. We could wheel in for you
Yeah.
if it's not the right tone.
It is amazing.
It's always good to have a bench. That's good.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers,
I'm so
John.
glad you guys got to do that.
you.
And
I'm
that
glad. I'm
we,
glad too.
the collective, everybody else gets to enjoy the benefits of
Wow.
hearing how that
They're
sounds.
really cool
Thank you.
songs. I really can't wait to hear them.
Yeah,
Yes.
cheers.
Thank you for the champagne and
Cheers
you're
to
welcome
you guys.
for the
Ended the
drawing.
album for sure.
But
Well, ooh.
we've always
that
had a
is
dream, or I
tasty.
guess me especially has had a dream always, of having a house, like a big
delicious.
property. We got this dope house, and then on the property there's like a studio, maybe another building that's like for art and for making shit. But like that was like, I was like, wow, this is the closest I've ever seen to like what I'm sort of going for here. This is very inspiring.
It's unbelievable.
And then I asked Nate, I was like, all in, what do you think it costs to build this, like this building, just the studio part? He's like, oof, like 10, 15 million, maybe.
Million.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean,
Damn.
gear alone, you know me, I'm not much of a gear guy. You know, I can get by with a laptop and a microphone. So we'd probably cut some costs there. But man, what a cool experience.
Insane. And it's not finished because we got to 7 songs tracked, drums, bass. We had a fantastic bass player. He was there the whole time.
He was kind of new to bass.
new
even,
to bass, but
he did
man,
so
he
good.
pulled out the bag.
What was his name again? I
Ah,
think it was started with a J. JM was his initials. John Mason.
Yeah, that could have been the guy.
I'm actually wearing his shirt. Available at johnmason.com.
I'm always surprised when I see them because they look pretty good.
Yeah, they
like
are.
it.
They're very
My
good.
friend Alex Ferretti, who's currently in the French Alps, she designed that.
Wow. It's a really cool original
It's
design. Very comfortable
beautiful.
So
shirt.
striking. I noticed you in this shirt today,
Yeah.
didn't I?
You did.
This note. I
Does
was
he
like,
normally
She never
no.
sees me.
Normally
I'm
doesn't
a-
notice.
Normally he's
invisible.
invisible, and I just sort of.
You just
own
wander
the
around
I
like,
strut around here.
am I the only one living here?
Yeah.
I'm sure
She
it's
went,
supposed to be
"Ah!"
someone else. Oh,
That's what she did, yeah.
Yeah, forget I have a roommate sometimes.
Yeah.
just sometimes.
Quiet as a mouse.
Just
That's me.
sometimes. But anyway, they went so well that then I think the day after I was down in Olympia, Washington, which if no one's been, go on a Sunday night and go to the Clipper and do karaoke. It's
Are we hearing the T thing?
I had turned it off. Did you turn it back on?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
yeah, go to Olympia. Anyway, I called you up with an idea of another song.
Yeah.
Because I feel like 7's a weird number. Because it's like EP you can get away with 4 sometimes and call it an EP. And then 6, it's still kind of an EP. But you can't really call 7 an album, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, we're one over the EP. We didn't do a lot of songs. Maybe the universe can provide the funding to get like 2 or 3 more.
2 or 3.
I was thinking, but at least one more.
At least one.
That one that I sent you.
Yeah. Which
I think you can cook that up pretty quick.
I think we could.
and was that I mean, all of these songs, are these kind of like, do you kind of like have riffs that you just like have like just kind of had in your head for a long time, then you go like, okay, I'm going to do something with that one, and then you add words to it, then you kind of build off of it? Or is it like, today I'm going to write a song? I don't know. How does it strike you normally?
It's interesting being asked that by another genius creator.
Oh, come on.
The best ones just come out, don't they?
Yeah, I guess they
They
do.
just, you zone out, your eyes roll back, and then you're like, oh, Well, that's phenomenal. Who wrote? Did you write that? Not me.
Right. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, they sort of write themselves.
But apart from that, it's like riffs and ideas. And when it's like that, I'm a band guy. I love being in bands. Even though I'm solo and I have been for a little bit, that's purely a reflection on like on the ability to bring people with you and have them leave with a good enough fee that their wives can be happy with them, essentially. But I'm a band guy, man.
We're all happy, hey.
And it's always when you have ideas and then you bring them to a place like that and then other people go, well, here's a groove. Or have you thought about this? Or even you put JC who can't play the piano on a piano and then he's just like, which notes can I hit? You're like, those three. And then 2 passes later and he's changed the song. Like, it's a phenomenal gift, but it's also just that extra insight of like, here's what I've done and this is my vision and it can only ever be encompassed in this. And you bring other people in and all of a sudden it becomes something much better. So that's what happened.
It's a,
Good
I don't
for
know,
you.
a weird sort of mental game of like, you have to let go of the songs, you know, but also nurture and care for them. You know, you have to like let them, you can't be afraid of them even being destroyed or ruined. You know, you have to just be able to let it be. But at the same time, like trying so hard to make it dope. You know, it's like this like balance.
You got to direct it a little bit. You know? You let the song do what it wants. And it's very obvious to everyone involved what works and what doesn't.
Right.
And I'm lucky enough to think, I've never really worked with anyone who doesn't get it. So that's fortunate, I think.
Yeah. And it's cool too. Like I've never done something quite like what we did.
Really?
I've done like recording with bands back when I was a band, and that's when you go in, you've been touring with this music, you know the songs, everyone's going to play their part. Nothing too creative is going to happen in the recording process, except for maybe some like harmonies or some kind of cool little ideas. I've done that. And then I've done the exact opposite, which is like how we do it here, where we just like, blah, just like, you know, just plink and plunk around and chop it together and just see what happens.
Plink and plunk, I like that.
Something is just formed. That word was used a lot in recording. We said, JC, we need you to do a little bit of plunkies here.
Can we get some plunk?
Yeah,
we get it to a stage and we're like, it's great. Should we see what the plunk sounds like?
Yeah, let's get the plunk.
Then we call JC's name and he'd come out of some weird corner of the studio and be like, well, what song we on? Doesn't matter. Don't hit those 2 notes. Plunk. Go.
Yeah. I love JC. What do I touch? What can't I touch? You just tell me. But yeah, that process of like, you had written the songs, you had an idea of them in your head, you booked this studio time, and there was like, so we went in with something, but
so we had
was like kind of malleable.
So the last single I put out, Sundrunk, the sessions I got that out of were in Prairie Sun, which is in Katati. I'm a bit tied up on this.
Sorry.
No, it's not you. It's
caught him on a line.
I'm not taking care of my own business. There we go. and they went pretty well. The Sundrunk came out good. I gave that to my producer in Australia, and we did a bit more of a pop thing with it, which was the intention. I'm very proud of it, actually. But the other 4 songs were just acoustic, guitar, and voice. The intention being that I don't know when the next bit of funding is coming in, so if they can just work with just me, so I'll get the best guitar and vocal takes down that I can. Then if everything, you know, goes sideways, at least I can put them out as like an acoustic thing. And then that engineer got in touch with me and he was like, if you want to finish this stuff, I've got this huge castle in Washington. Although it was a bunch of money, considering what it was an absolute like steal. Like still, you know, still a bunch, but you know what I mean? Like,
for what you were getting, it's like
I remember I priced it up against, is it Valley Studios down here or some big studio in LA? And
I don't even know.
They came in more than 6 times the amount per day. So it's like,
wow.
So it was still a good deal.
Plus, it was like
it's good to know.
Kind of skeleton crew.
And you couldn't get this if it wasn't for that connection.
Yeah, because it's technically not a commercial studio.
So that's a bummer. I was hoping you could like give our listeners the connect, but it's just.
Well, I mean,
you gotta know somebody.
You gotta know somebody.
You gotta know
the right guy.
One of the engineers who works there, which there's 2, and then they've basically got to vet you and then let you in. It's a strange setup, but the benefit of that is you walk around and it's like, I don't know, fairy tale. There's like ponds with different names and
Yeah, you picked the
hidden
right time of year to
statues.
go to Washington. My gosh.
Well, and you don't feel like you're in any sort of a professional environment, even though it's very well set up and everything's obviously, but like it just felt like this is our little playground and we just get to fuck around
Yeah.
for the
And
next
the
week
coffee.
or whatever. And the coffee.
I'd love
I
to
heard something
have
about
tried,
apple
I would
cider, I believe.
Oh yeah, well Jade and Nate, the engineer, shout out to Hexa Coffee, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd love
Thank
to
you.
have tasted that through their machine.
To the espresso machine. Yeah, there's a dope espresso machine in
Dopest
the
one I've ever seen.
in the kitchen. Yeah, that was quite a good friend to us. But Jade and Nate, the engineer, went for a hike one day and they came back with just like gallon jugs of apple cider.
You
like,
call it cider.
what would you call it?
Apple juice.
Not in fall,
What
bucko.
is
It gets rebranded.
Yeah, is that all? It's just is juice and cider the same, or is there some kind of a
I mean,
process?
cider. Cider could be alcoholic. Like
It could be, but
historically.
Is
so
that
you can
not
add
the
alcohol to
definition?
juice too. I feel like juice is just not as natural. More sugar. Like you would maybe add some sugar. This was like
Pressed apple.
kind
the
of the
real
same
deal, but
thing.
you still call fresh squeezed orange juice.
Juice, yeah.
So,
To me, juice is the liquid that comes out of a fruit when you press it.
well,
Yeah, I'm not
what about
too-
carrot juice?
What about it? It's
Squeeze a
still
carrot.
juice.
What's coming out of that?
All right, give me a carrot. We got glasses.
Do we got carrots?
I've got a
What
juicer
is-
somewhere. I think. I don't know.
I guess, yeah, it can be industrially squeezed.
We do
and it
have
still
carrots,
counts.
but they're roasted. They're miso roasted in the fridge.
Miso roasted.
We got some carrots that'll fuck you up.
So
actually.
wait.
You should try them.
How did you barely slept? You said.
Yeah.
So
I was-
how were you just in this like creative trance for the last week, or what's been
yeah,
going
we
on?
did. I think our lowest amount of hours was maybe 10 or 11, and our most was 18. And this was every day. But that's how I like to do it. you
Me
know?
too.
I like to do it like that.
Me
I'm
too.
just like,
I like to live there.
yeah. And you just wake up and you just go. It's a tough call on the musicians, but it's different because when you're the musician, like things just, if nothing's coming out, nothing's coming out. You don't force it. Like, so you shift it and it moves on to the next stage. But as an engineer, and we only had one, so it wasn't even like we had like Nate had anyone to, so shout out to Nate Nosada.
For sure. He's amazing.
Nate. It's amazing because like he didn't have anyone to like do the dog's body stuff, you know, or can you move this mic to that position? So he had to do everything himself. And like he wanted everything to be done as if it was the last record he was ever going to make. So it was like, hey Nate,
Good
we
guy
just
to
want to
work
we
with.
want to record a percussion part on the rim shot of the snare drum. Okay, cool. Let me bring in 4 more microphones,
Right.
and
Let me
patch
go
them through
tweak
these
the
other.
plate in the basement.
And me and Paul are just like, da, 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 da.
Yeah. Well, because I'm so used to just like, great, do whatever, do it. Like I just have one microphone and it's plugged in all the time, and whoever's gonna do what, I just hold it and point it at it.
I feel like the
It works.
ultimate.
It works.
The ultimate would be like somewhere in the middle.
Yes, I
Somewhere
agree.
in the middle. But I also can't put any badness on Nate because he would take like a lot of time to set something up so that it was the ultimate way you could capture it. Phenomenal. But then he would also keep going until 4 or 5 in the morning. So it wasn't like we had a 10-hour window, which a lot of engineers I've worked with, they'll do, you know, like they don't know you from Adam. They're like, you give me my day rate, we start here, and it happens, and then I'm out then. That's when I'm out. Mm-hmm. And like, but
And the fact that I spent 6 hours miking the drums, too bad.
Too
I
bad,
got,
you
you
know?
know? Yeah, you only
Yeah.
got that small window.
Exactly. Whereas Nate was like, I might spend 6 hours making the drums, but then we'll add that 6 hours on at the end when things are flowing, and we're like, I'm not going to stop pressing record.
Yeah,
He
it was
was
a cool.
phenomenal.
That's good. Yeah, you don't want him quitting and going to bed. That's not what you
Which
want.
is why I made a point to provide cocktails for everybody, because I was like,
And what was the name of those cocktails?
Boulevardiers.
Boulevardiers.
Maybe
These
we
were
should
very
call
good.
the album Boulevardier.
Maybe you should.
You should.
sounds
It's fun to
smooth.
say. It's delicious,
It's so good, man.
and it's sort of the.
It was the
It
staple.
was the fuel for a lot.
What do you put in a Boulevardier?
Oh, have you ever had a Negroni?
I have had a Negroni.
Yeah. So
That's what is that, gin? God, what the fuck's in a
yeah,
Negroni?
Negroni is 2 part gin, 1 part Campari, 1 part sweet Vermouth.
Okay.
You just kick out the gin for a bit of rye or bourbon for a Boulevardier. It's delicious.
Okay,
They
yeah,
were
that would
very
be
good.
more my style.
It's delicious.
They were very good and they were flowing, and John made sure he did not let a cup sit empty.
I think I
Which
can
was
tell
good.
that it's a trend with the double bottles of champagne on our
I'm
table.
He's
very
a supplier.
grateful.
He is. He's
Very
good.
I know we're generous. You're generous and grateful. The gratitude, it keeps it flowing.
I'm grateful for the whole experience. I mean, it like I said, it's something I've never quite done, and it's always reassuring to get into a situation like that and succeed.
You knocked out of the park.
Well, I thank you.
In all honesty, you were the only person who plays drums in America that I knew well enough to ask.
So
I
your
don't know enough drummers.
expectations were
I
very
was,
high, huh?
I will say, I hate tooting my own horn, but I impressed myself. I was like, wow, I'm actually kind of good. I'm kind of
You
good.
are on fucking point, man.
And I haven't really played drums at all for years. I mean, it's been like here and there. There's like a drunk jam. You've never even seen me play the drums since we've dated.
Oh,
You have not.
no.
Exactly. Like, and here I am. So anyway.
I had no idea.
So you were like drum. I was like, all right, I'll come do it. But like, maybe we'll just. I was thinking in my head like, I'll do something once, we'll loop it, and we can do cool shit with that. Like that's kind of how I do everything.
I wasn't thinking so much. I was thinking like, I was already thinking right. Those songs could live without drums, but this song I particularly need a drum. Like, and I'm sure like even if we just have to like bash it out until he gets it, like we'll be fine. I've heard his loops, so I know he can play. Like I know he can groove a little bit. I don't know if he can play to a click, but I don't. You just gotta trust, mate. You just gotta trust. And
Yeah.
the way you said yes wasn't like, oh maybe I don't know. I haven't played drums in a while. You were just like, yeah, sure, I'm there. Send me the tracks.
Yeah.
And then when the few days before, when you were like going through with me like ideas for what it was that we wanted to do, I was like, this is gonna be great. But it wasn't until. I mean, I was frustrated because I was like feeling the pressure. Like when there's money involved and all that kind of stuff, like you feel the pressure. You do. I can't help but not feel the pressure.
Sure.
And so like we're still there and the drums are still getting set up and I'm like, you said you'd have this done yesterday. Come on. And like I'm itching to play some music.
Get
And then
to the good
eventually
stuff.
we got it to the point and Nate was like, I'm going to take a break. Everything's up. I was like, hit record. We're going to jam and just start this thing. We jammed 15 minutes and it was awesome. We were both like locked in, just boom. Me in the main room,
Get the boom.
boom. And then I just knew it from then. And every song went pretty well.
Yeah, and it was a nice exercise in just like patience. Like we need to just let this happen. Like sometimes there's a slow start. We haven't all worked together quite like this before. I had never worked with Nate. You know, you knew Nate, but so there's like kind of a, you know, things have to like settle in. We all have to kind of settle in. So there was like, yeah, you can't force it. You can't rush it. You have to sometimes just sit back and let it happen.
Which is a hard exercise.
Especially with the money.
Yeah.
Like,
But even that is a great exercise.
yeah.
In really putting all of those worries out of your head and treating people in a present and grateful manner, even though those little demons are there, like, come on. Because when you do, you get back an engineer who'll stay there till 5 a.m. because he knows that you need to capture everything that you can. You know, like it was tough. It was a tough thing internally, and it was an amazing, what came out of it. Like we listened back to everything and it's just like, wow.
Well, and because
I'm so
Nate,
glad you feel that way. That's awesome.
yeah, and because Nate recorded everything so well, no matter what you put on top of that, it's a quality record. If we record something, you know, my style, and like, so there's like a little guitar thing that sounds like shit, no one's gonna say this record sounds like shit. They're gonna say, oh, clearly that was done on purpose because there's such a hi-fi quality that bringing in something that's kind of lo-fi sounds intentional now.
Yeah.
Because clearly they were able to do hi-fi. I mean, there's quality here. So now we're building on a foundation of like real quality, which is cool.
Unbelievable quality.
Yeah.
The drum sound is fantastic.
I mean, hey, 6 hours of mic and drums is better. No, I was empathizing with both of you and Nate, because I know, you know, being in the driver's seat is exhausting. Even when I do it here, when I'm just kind of like it can feel kind of like pressure, especially when you've been hired. This is why I don't want to be hired to like produce somebody's record, because then now the pressure's on me to fucking make something happen. I prefer like come over and we'll see what happens, you know? So, but then I would see you across the room just like clearly being like, oh man, like what have we done? We haven't done anything today. We burned a day, you know? Like, And that's not a cheap day to just light on fire and burn, you know? But it was like, we just had to kind of let it happen. And then it was like the third day, like we did everything.
Man, the third day was
The
like
third day
5
just-
days in one.
And on the third day,
you see-
everything happened.
On the
And on
third day, he
yeah.
built the songs. Yeah.
It was a brilliant turnaround.
It was really cool. But it was because we kind of let things,
We
let a foundation
yeah.
happen. We let Nate get comfortable and get things sounding right.
Not
And
just
then that
right,
way, once things are moving.
great.
Yeah,
because
great.
like then and every time it was like let's overdub a piano, it was there, and the sound was fantastic.
Yeah. It was cool.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It will definitely evolve the process for the next time that we're all together.
Yeah.
But what we did was really phenomenal.
Well, I hope I won't miss the next one.
So do we.
Me too.
We were saying, gosh, Christine would do some cool
You
stuff here.
just as a
Thank you.
person, your
That's nice of
presence
you.
would have been greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Bring my calm energy.
Yeah.
I've been told I'm calm. I don't know.
You're calm.
calm, and
You're a
you're-
calm. You're like a. I wouldn't call you a rock, and not out of a bad. I would call you a pebble.
A pebble.
You're
A wee bit little
Nice,
pebble.
sweet
You're-
little pebble,
A
y'all.
wee pebble.
You're that special pebble you find on a little late afternoon walk.
Yeah.
And just
the
smooth
security stone,
enough you
you
just
just-
want to rub it, and small enough you can put in your pocket. And whenever you need that pebble calmness, it's always there.
It's there.
Called you a little pebble.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
I feel like you also have sort of a motherly presence a little bit when, like on a trip or recording or anything, like you sort of take a nice hospitable role and you help people feel comfortable and like taken care of too, you know?
I learned
feel like
from
you've always had that.
Some good coaches over here.
Who?
You and JC.
Oh. No, but even our whole life, you've been like, you know, the
How long have you known each other?
since we were like 8.
Yeah, a long time.
I knew it was a long time, but that's phenomenal.
20, what is that, 23 years or something?
How's your wee glass looking there?
It's
20.
a wee bit empty.
I'm a wee empty too. My
Thank
glass
you.
is
This
full
champagne
empty.
is delicious. Thank
Yeah,
you
it
again.
is good, and it does taste expensive. I don't think you just got ripped off because it's not like
No,
sweet.
it feels, there's a lot of good flavors.
Kinda
There's some
dry, but
depth.
some
It
good
is
flavor.
dry. I'm
Philip
liking
Onay.
it a lot.
Philip Onay. Where is it from?
Yeah, tell me where it's from. I need a picture.
Gosh, well, I mean, it has to be from Champagne region
berries.
in France if it's
I
Champagne.
guess you're right. That's
Yeah.
pretty simple. isn't it?
Marolles-sur-Aille, France. Philippe Onay.
So let's go back a little bit in the story of John Mason,
Okay.
because I've talked to you just briefly, and you were on the podcast before when we had a whole crew here. It was a party
sorry.
podcast,
Took
and we sort of got into your adventures. I don't know. You have traveled much of the world, or at least some of the world, more of the world than most people ever see. As a musician, you always seem to make it work, and I guess.
How do you
Where did
do
that
it?
Where did that begin for you? Was it like I'm going out, I'm doing this? I don't know. Yeah, like when did this kind of like journey of traveling the world and making music happen? And was it a decision, or is it just something that has been kind of perpetual?
In part, there was a moment where it was a decision.
Talk to me about that,
Can I finish pouring my
please. Please, by all means. Because I remember you, on the last podcast you were on, you told a story, or maybe you just told me this story in person, but you were like in the Swiss Alps and you were stuck on some road, and then you like got pulled over by the cops. But one of the cops was like, "Oh, I saw you perform like in France," and they helped you out, or I don't know, but just like
Oh, that was
to have,
hilarious.
to
That
have
was- I
cool
was-
stories like that is kind of like
That's
what life
wild.
is all
It was
about.
actually
to me.
middle of Scotland,
middle of Scotland.
and I'd been had a
Of
row.
course you were.
Had a wee row with my girlfriend at the time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Hi.
Cheers, bro.
Don't forget to look over here.
He's so handsome. His voice is
Yeah,
so nice.
hello. Hi.
Oh,
This is shirt.
it is the shirt.
You're hard to compete with, John Mason.
There's no
Man,
competition.
you should have wore your John Mason shirt. And
I
maybe
should
I'd be looking
have.
over
I'm in a
Honest
little-
to God.
you. But okay, so you had a little bout with
That was hilarious. You're not allowed to hitch really in Scotland. I don't know the rules.
okay.
No hitching.
But
frowned upon.
I'd found my way.
Hitchhiking.
I'd found
That's
my
cute.
way. I was raced basically. I'd woken up that morning and I didn't have enough money for the train ticket to the airport in Edinburgh from where we were on the other side of Scotland. It's not a huge country, but big enough. And my girlfriend I had enough money. Anyway, I can't remember exactly the details, and my memory's probably biased towards me being the hero. And anyway, it was raining, and I was like, "Look, I'll beat you there. I don't care. I'm done with this. I'll beat you there. And I wasn't even getting on the plane. She was getting on the plane to go off somewhere with some other dude. It's one of those weird situations. I was like,
Okay.
I'll beat you there.
So
She was
you
like,
had no
"Fine."
reason to even be there? You just wanted to beat her
She
there?
had a thing about being waved off and received at airports, which actually is kind of, I'm starting to realize,
It's nice.
It's
It's nice.
it's a really nice thing.
So you were like, I'm going to beat you there. So you start
Yeah, so I was
hitching your
like,
way?
I'm kind of in this. So I started hitching. I'm in Fairway. I'm in Fort William, which is not that close to Edinburgh, if you know your geography. And you got to go through a lot of countryside in Scotland. I don't know how many miles. I'm assuming maybe 300 miles, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe a bit less. It's not easy. Anyway, so I started hitching, blah, 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 a couple of hitches, I'm going zigzagging along. And I end up being dropped outside of Stirling, which is only an hour's drive from Edinburgh Airport. And I've got like 4 hours in lieu. So I'm like, I'm going to be here. I know I am. This is amazing. But I didn't know where to hitch from. And the guy before dropped me near the motorway. I'd never tried to hitch on the motorway. And I now realize why. It's a silly idea. Don't do it. Nothing. Everyone's going so fast. If they do see you, it's like a, what was that?
Right.
It's not a, oh, I've got plenty of time. That looks like someone
Right.
Better
I
pull
could
over and
trust.
help.
Look at him. Let's assess him.
Yeah,
right.
they're going too fast.
Right.
So it's not going to work. So I'd walked up the slipway and I had my guitar. I always have my guitar. And it's raining a little bit. And I'm like,
Is it in a case or is it just like
Yeah,
out
it's in
on
a
it? Okay,
case.
okay,
It's
okay.
in a case.
I'm sorry. I just need the whole visual.
it's in a case.
accurate, I think.
It's on the end of a stick tied
important
to a
for me.
bandana.
For me to picture.
there's a big sign that says musician here.
Yeah.
It's like,
Okay, proceed, of course.
So I make my way off the slip road, and immediately I'm like, this is terrible. It's never going to work. I'll try it a little bit, and then I'm going to jump over this fence, head across this field, and get back to where I can catch a train or something. And I'm there 5 minutes, and then this police car pulls up, and I'm like, oh dear. And then they pull up right next to me
dear.
on the hard shoulder, and they're like, hey laddie, what you doing? And I was like, I'm trying to put on more of a Scottish accent when I'm in Scotland, because otherwise they think I'm English.
Yeah.
Give it.
They
And
say
then
you're
they
Give it up.
Scottish.
You're not Scottish, pal. You're English.
There it is.
Even people I went to school with and grew up with, they're like, you're not Scottish.
You know, Scottish.
You did it. First try. Oh, we did this the
You
last.
We did this last time.
You're
Christine,
Scottish.
she kept saying, you ain't Scottish, you're English. And you're like, no, you're nae Scottish.
You're nae.
You're like,
Oh, that was a good
It
one.
was
yeah, well,
good.
see, I'm a good listener. No,
But
but-
okay, go all
so the
in. No,
police pull
You're.
over.
I want to hear. You're
You're giving
hamming
them
it up.
full
You're giving
accent.
the full Scottish accent.
All right. So I'll try and do the rest in a wee Scottish accent.
Yes, please.
But all my friend.
Was that good? That's no good. It's getting worse.
Anyway, so the people would be like, what you doing? I'm like, I'm just trying to hitch my way to Edinburgh Airport. Like, you can't hitch. You're in trouble. I was like, well, all right, no worries. I'll leave. You can't go. What do you mean? You can't go over there to that field. It's private property. And I was like, well, I'll just go back down the slip road. Can't you do that? It's illegal. Can't let you do that. And I'm like, what can I do?
Shall I just die here?
Without attempting to hitch.
Yeah, right. Just put your hands behind your back and just stand there till you die.
And they're like, well, we can't take you in this car because we're an armoured vehicle. We've got guns in the back. And so no civilians are allowed inside. So we've called the traffic police. They'll be here when they can. Until then, we have to stay here with you to make sure nothing happens. And I'm
Wow.
like,
That's a lot of
I'm like,
protection, Scotland.
Well, this is I gotta say, in the whole world, I think Scottish police may be the most fantabulous police.
Oh.
So I'm there, just chatting away with them because I don't know what else to do, and I'm a bit nervous. And they're like, oh, you're a musician, are you? I was like, yeah. Normally I play in the French Alps. We were just there last winter. We played at this place called Morzine. So that's where I was. Hang on a minute. And one of the coppers gets his phone out, right? Does this for a little bit. Finds a video of me playing in the Cavern Bar, which was like our weekly jaunt. Shout out to the Cavern Bar, great place. And I'm like, and they're like, that's you! Oh, and then we start laughing, talking about music, and after about 10 minutes, the traffic cops still hadn't arrived. So they're like, okay, don't you tell anybody about this.
Well, so much for that.
I'll just make up. This was in 1945.
Yeah.
So whoever was patrolling on that day.
They're no longer there.
No, November.
But so they were
14th.
like, if you just promise not to shoot us, we'll put you in the back with our guns.
Basically, they're like. But the best thing was that they put Grace, my guitar, in the gun rack next to all these massive machine guns. That was like.
So that excite you?
Of course it did.
Yeah, that's
This
his
is a
axe.
freaking gun and.
All right, cool.
Everybody's
Come on.
weapons.
In the back of it, it was like if something because it's forbidden. That's why it excited me. If it was some dude with a massive gun rack who ran around shooting people, I probably wouldn't even be there. But this was two upstanding police officers breaking their rules in order to help.
No,
out.
I could get that. I could
Yeah.
understand that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm more inherently nervous around guns than excited by them. But there is a certain
No, but
like,
to see your guitar, though, placed
but I know
Next to
illegally with the guns.
in the back of a police car.
I guess yeah, you feel like you've like broken you surpassed the
Well, John
rules,
didn't want to go
all
to the Hollywood
rules.
sign until we just told him that it's illegal to go to the Hollywood sign. You know,
No, I'm
John
trying to get it. I'm
he's a
trying to get it.
contrarian, he's a rebel.
Right. Okay.
You know?
So like all the rules don't apply to you. I could understand
It's
why
a good
that's
feeling.
exciting.
I love that feeling. I live
Sure.
for that feeling.
A little rowdy rebelliousness.
I mean, it depends on the rule. Like, I don't break every rule just because it's a rule. But when it's something like, I'm just going to jump over a fence.
Well, music is rebellious too, which is kind of beautiful. You know, like music changes the
Innately
minds
is
of
rebellious?
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
can
think
be?
about how like rock and roll used to be like said to be satanic, like people
I think
Yeah.
some of it.
Some of the big
recognize
changes
that
in
music
culture is
changes
through music.
Yeah, it changes
For
like
sure.
entire generations.
Do you think like
energy
Beethoven and Mozart were like the rock and roll rebels of their day, or do you think they were?
Yes. I've heard when Beethoven played like his Fourth Symphony or something, people like walked out. Like it was offensively
They shot the bed.
something.
They were like,
It was like, this is...
It's
I mean,
like when
I don't know
when
what...
Bob Dylan went electric.
It's like, yeah, when
that
Bob Dylan
moment.
went electric, they booed him.
They were like, "What the
For
fuck
playing an
are you
electric
doing?
guitar, you know,
How
like-
dare you? You
Yeah.
are the folk hero of this nation."
Right.
Right.
So you are correct. Much of culture
Thank you,
is
Paul.
rebelliously changed through...
music.
So
Music.
in
Music is the
that's
vehicle.
to reiterate, I think that's why I think it would be cool to see it, right? It's like guns.
Yeah.
Guns. What can change more? I don't know. Music,
Well,
guns.
I think
Guns are bad.
With
I
the
don't
good-
know.
Music
I
is
don't
more
I'm trying to
powerful than
see.
guns.
I'm trying to. That's the conclusion
Easily.
I want. I'm like music. This guitar
depends on the
is
situation.
gonna
but, yeah.
disarm these cops.
Well, you're
This
not going to
mu-
beat them in a
It
fight.
did. It literally
There you
disarmed
go.
them.
It disarmed them.
Those were active weapons that they
Right.
ruled were no longer threatening because they thought that they could trust you because of music that you had performed for
And the
them.
guitar being placed was more powerful than the guns it was sitting next to.
If we're
Kinda
really
in that
going to
moment.
dissect the story, I think you guys are right.
I think that's the beauty of it.
Fuck, well, cheers to that. yeah.
Cheers to that.
I
There's
didn't
gonna be many
realize how
cheers.
powerful that moment actually was.
It's
pretty
a
big
beautiful
deal.
moment. So back to my original question: when did this sort of traveling the world begin? And you said there was some time where you made a specific decision.
Yeah. Hard question to answer, mate. But the specific decision was around 2016. I had to choose between staying in New Zealand with a rather beautiful lady who was just a delight to be around.
Bedazzling.
Bedazzling.
Fucking
She was
bedazzling
bedazzling.
woman.
I'm not sure she was bedazzling.
Oh, then excuse me.
Perhaps not the adjective. John.
Pardon me.
She
I
kind
beg
of
my
was.
part.
I don't know. Hindsight's
whatever.
dainty. She was bedazzled. I was bedazzled. Put it that
You were
way.
bedazzled
Sounds
by
like
her.
it.
I was bedazzled.
You were bedazzled.
But I think I've met a few more bedazzling women since. Does that make
Okay.
any sense?
It
But
sure
at the
does.
time, this was a bedazzlement.
This was the most bedazzlement that anyone could ever be bedazzled by.
Wow. And so you're in New Zealand and you're faced with some sort of
I
decision.
get offered a job as a musician that will cover all the visa stuff. And they're like, yeah. And then my band, I've just finished slogging over this album for 3 years where I recorded everything. And it's weighing me down because we just finished it. And my band are amazing. Cab Collective. They're just the most fun human beings on the planet. And I had to make a choice. In my head, I thought there was actually no choice. This is a great thing about choice, is that sometimes when you think you have a choice to make, there is no choice. You're the one creating this choice. Sometimes you can just do it all. Sometimes you can just do what you want, and it actually doesn't affect the other thing. Anyway. So I thought I had this choice to make.
Yep.
I didn't want to be the guy that left the band for the girl. So I stayed with the band, and then we did another tour, and we had a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work with a lot of people that are only spectacular at being musicians and not necessarily spectacular at support in other areas. And I had enough. I had a few sort of breaky down moments in a first world perspective. I'll just note that right now, very first world perspective. And I had enough money left after our Italian leg to book a flight back to New Zealand, but I didn't want to go straight there. I was like, often these things take a bit of time, and once you've had some space to think and feel, you actually don't feel the way you think you do. So I booked it via the US, flying into New York and then out of LA. I think I gave myself 2 months to travel America.
Sick.
And I figured in that time, I'll have adventures, I'll meet people, I'll gain perspective. And then if I still want to go, I can. And if I've changed my mind, then I've changed my mind, and everything's fine. So that was the end of that tour was early 2017. And then this is where serendipity sort of became on my radar, of noticing when something becomes important for you as a human being, then serendipity just goes through the roof. I was meeting so much, it was just ridiculous. I don't know if we necessarily.
It felt magical though, the way things were happening for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely magical. And I'll tell you one story.
Please.
I'll tell you one
You're
story.
our guest. We want all the stories. But yes, please.
I should probably change the name, but there's a song on my album called Rosemary's Ice Cream.
Okay.
So I'll use that as So before I've decided to do this trip, and when I say I had enough money, I had enough money for the tickets. That was it. And I was like, I don't know if I should go. I'm being an idiot. And
because you don't know how you're going to eat when you get there. Or where you'll sleep.
Not so much. It's more about treating myself. Do I want to put myself in a position where somebody's really going to break my heart? Following a girl across the world that you've previously broken up with and then has then said, don't really want anything to do with you. And you're like, this is a bit weird. So
okay.
Where's the lines? Where's the line? So I'm questioning myself a lot, and I'm waking up one day, no, I'm not doing it. I'm sticking with the band. And then something would happen one of my good friends, Luke, was urging me to explore what options were around me at the time at the shows. And so he's like, come on, man, you've been single for 5 months now. Just kiss somebody or go on a date or whatever, it's part of the process. And I was like, nah, it's not going to happen. So eventually I was like, okay, I'm playing this show and there's a very cute girl, and I'm like, she's making eye contact. I'll investigate. And I go up to her and I didn't ask her name. We just start talking. And I'm like, she's really cool. And then we got a drink, and this other band came on after us, and we're dancing around. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I was like, how are you enjoying yourself? She's like, really good. She said, but I'm away to New Zealand in 6 days. And I was like, I shrugged it off. I was like, that's just a coincidence. And then we leave the bar. She's like, you can come back to my place. I'm like, okay, cool. We leave the bar. And then I heard one of her friends shout her name because it was so loud. It was so loud I couldn't hear her name the first time when I asked her, because I always ask people names. So I was like, and they shouted Rosemary. And I was like, which is the name of the girl
in New Zealand.
And I was like, oh, so I didn't. That was the end of that. And I was like, Luke was like, come on, it's just bad luck. Try again. We had a gig the next night. Playing away, there's a couple of girls that are friends, and throwing some eyes. I'm like, oh, I'll try again. I go up to the first one. I'm like, hi, how you doing? Yeah, what's your name? She just says, Rosie. I'm like, what? I moved straight past her to her friend.
You're like, what's your name then?
Yeah.
God damn it, isn't there anyone here not named Rosemary?
Somebody else, please.
So I go to a friend, and her name wasn't Rosie, and this was a long time ago, so I apologize. I don't remember what her name was. Margaret.
But not Rosie, we know that.
But not Rosie.
Edna, perhaps.
Edna. Oh, that was amazing. That was so good. Just to interject on this story, the whole week in the studio, there was a little box for the talkback in the studio. It had a green button and a red one. You pressed the
Which
green
talkback is the person who's in the other room recording. This is the button you push. While you're holding that button, they can hear you. So you say, hey, John, that was good. We're just going to do it one more time. And then you let go, it's off. But we treated this, it was this like big box with a little microphone on it where you're like, dude, it feels like I'm like some like oil tycoon with like a secretary, like, Edna, please take a memo. So it was like, anytime anything was like, hey, that was really great. It's like, Edna, that was really great. Please make a note that was really great. Like, we just kept
Edna,
talking.
We all needed
between
Edna.
bar 3 and bar 9. We're going to redo that when Paul's had a pee.
Right. It was like, wow, JC, what a great shirt. Like, Edna, please, JC has a great shirt. Can we just get a few of those over for the boys in the warehouse? But okay, so this girl, her name's not Rosie.
So,
we'll call her Edna for now.
We'll call her Edna. So, and then the second line was like, oh, you know, how are you? What's going on? She's like, I'm great, but I can't wait. I'm going to New Zealand in 5 days.
And your eye just starts twitching.
Luke was with me with both occasions, and even he was just like,
He's like, I don't know, bud.
if it
I
wasn't
guess,
for
you
him,
know
I'd
what?
be like, maybe I'm making this up. Maybe
Maybe
I'm
I've
crazy.
lost my mind. Yeah.
So your takeaway was like, it's too soon after that, right?
No, my takeaway was, this is
What? I feel like we have opposite
my
takeaways.
takeaway was me questioning whether I should do this trip that I'm planning. My
Yeah.
takeaway was the universe is telling me to go to New Zealand and speak to Rosie.
Go back.
Because it
that
just-
makes sense.
It happened
Because you literally can't stop manifesting this Rosie character.
Exactly.
Can't escape. Can't
Okay.
escape.
And
Sure,
you're right
sure.
to say manifesting, because I do believe that's a big part of it. So that happened a lot.
Okay.
Eventually, I booked the ticket. I do this great show with my drummer. The band kind of does most of the tour, and then towards the end, you know, different obligations. So it's just left with me and my drummer, Oscar, who's the most phenomenal human being. He's fantastic. I call him up sometimes just when I want to be reminded of how cute and wonderfully brilliant the universe can be. He's like, whether he's complaining or he's ecstatic or whatever, he's just, everything comes out the same way. John, he says, I like this, John. And he's a brilliant drummer. So it's fantastic. And so I did a show with him. He puts me on a ferry over to Rome from Sardinia. And he's like, John, don't be so stupid. You come back here, we make good music. But if you have to go, okay, you know, you call me, you have any troubles. When you're in Napoli, eat a fucking pizza. Because at the time I was vegan. He's like, none of this vegan bullshit, eat the pizza in Napoli.
God bless him.
Cazzo Dio, Madonna. Which I then did. I got
good.
squired around Napoli a few days later by
Glad to
a
hear it.
friend. And she took me to this restaurant. No one there. €3.50. Best thing I've had in my mouth ever. Of all the things I put in my mouth.
Heard it. We all heard it.
AJ was like,
We have eyebrows are raised. Let's
I mean,
just say that.
fucking sorry, Yelp. You could be retired because that was just the recommendation of
That's it.
the century.
That's it. That's a 5-star review if I ever
Yeah,
heard one.
Seriously.
sorry, I got to change my mind. I instantly stopped being vegan.
Wow.
And so, then you did fly to New York and you did the trip across the U.S.?
Yeah, I flew on this flight from Napoli to New York, which I couldn't find a reference number for after I booked it. It was so cheap, I thought it had to be a lie. Turned up at the airport, and it was, in fact, real. And it was the most hilarious flight I've ever been on. Landed in New York, and it just so happened that one of my friends, Laura, who's a French girl from the mountains, this was another sign for me to book the flight, because the day I booked the flight a few weeks before, I'd walked into her, she runs a ski shop in the French mountains. I know it's hard to follow this, but I'm moving around a lot at the same time.
I'm enjoying it.
And
It's fine.
Beautiful women. Some are Rosie.
Yeah.
Some are going to New Zealand.
I
I got it. I'm following along.
It's the summer of love. I don't know. I can't tell.
And so she runs up to me in the ski shop and she's like, Jean, what is your plan for the summer? And I don't tell her. I'm like, I don't know. And I just booked my ticket. I don't know why. I just chose not to. My friend, she's not coming, and we booked the flight to New York, and we're going to travel America. Would you want to go? And I was like, when's your flight? Same fucking day.
Same day.
Same day that I'd booked my flight to land, she'd booked her flight to land within an hour in the same airport.
Wow.
The Newark one.
Newark.
Is that
Yeah, I think it's just called Newark Airport.
okay? Newark Airport, the Newark one.
At least, whatever.
Yeah, no.
I've only ever
So we
heard
land on the same day.
I usually
eventually.
go to JFK, but it's all good. You know, Newark.
I
Sure.
was flying from Napoli. Spent €200. If I would have gone
200
JFK.
euros, that's so nice.
So you're sort of being guided by the serendipity.
Exactly.
Serendipity is your North Star.
At
Yeah,
this
you're
point,
just like
when
leaning
things are
into all the
clicking,
feelings.
I'm just like, do you
we'll
know
go
what?
with that.
I'm just gonna go with that. So I land. Laura rents a car. We drive across the US, having the best time. Even like it was just amazing. And my buddy lives in Tahoe. He was chefing at some restaurants. Then he did a musician. He booked me a gig. We drove from Phoenix, Arizona to Tahoe in 14 hours to play.
Arizona, all the way to Tahoe, Philadelphia, Atlanta, LA. Sorry,
Is that it's one of
Steve
your
Miller
songs?
Band?
Steve Miller Band? Yeah.
Phoenix,
It's- I mean, I-
Arizona, all the
Come
way
on, I
to
took some
Tahoe.
liberties, but-
Rockin' me, baby.
Sorry, good
That's
times.
the song.
That's great.
God, no, Tahoe,
living a
Phoenix.
Steve
These are
Miller
some
band.
beautiful
Voices.
parts of our country.
Your voice is so lovely.
Oh.
Phoenix, Arizona, all the
Oh,
way
okay.
to Tahoe. Won't
Christine's
you
voice
come
is
on
great.
over, make you smile.
I'm
You
blushing.
know that when I'm here, my home is your home. I'm gonna make you a cookie, 'cause it's been a while. Oh, come on over. Christine's gonna take great care of you. Oh, come on over, put your feet up. We'll talk about a worry or two. Oh, Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Tahoe. Christine will have you over so you can make it home. She's gonna take real care of you.
Woo!
here.
This might be the first time I've truly been in the hot seat on this podcast.
To be serenaded is
Woo!
quite something, huh?
I think these feel a bit flushed.
Flush.
Okay, so is all the impetus of sort of this adventurous life, this do you feel like you're still living in the ripples of that decision to leave
Yeah.
New Zealand?
I just have to clarify the title of the song,
Okay.
because it's a good one.
Okay.
So the reason I have to explain a few of the serendipitous things that happened before that is because I leave Tahoe. I've had a great time. I've earned money for the first time in a long time. And I'm like, wow. And I get an offer to stay and like spend the whole summer in Tahoe playing music, earning good money, being with good friends in a beautiful place. And I'm like, I gotta go see about this girl. And everyone's like, you're a bit of an idiot, but whatever. So I get on a bus, a Greyhound from Sacramento down to LA. And on the whole bus ride, it's like 9 hours or something. And the whole bus ride, I'm like, in my head, John, you're an idiot. John, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is silly. And the bus starts pulling off at Bakersfield. And I said to myself, all right, you seem to believe in this serendipitous guiding force, whatever name you don't have for it. If it's really there, now's the time. All right? So I closed my eyes and I was like, unless I see a undeniable, can't walk away from it sign that I'm supposed to carry on to New Zealand, I'm getting off this bus and I'm going back to Tahoe and I'm doing this summer, you know? And I made a really, because sometimes you make pacts like, I'm definitely going to do 100 push-ups tomorrow morning. You're like, oh, I don't remember making that pact.
Yeah. Tomorrow's just as good. I mean,
Tomorrow is the same as tomorrow yesterday. So
Right, why rush it?
Actually, yeah. But this time I was really firm. I can be firm myself when I really need to be. And I was like, you have to get off this bus. If there's nothing like undeniable, it has to be undeniable. So I open my eyes, looking around, bus is going through some lights, stops at a set of lights, and on the right there's this place called John's Burgers. And I was like, ain't nothing. John's the most common name in the universe. Burger's the most common food in the universe. I was like, haha, universe, you ain't got me this time. I mean, cross that set of lights. And the next shop where we stopped in front of, I can still see John's Burgers in the distance when I look back. In the big, neon, slightly flashy, buzzy light, the size of the window, like bigger than human size, just said, Rosemary's Ice Creams. And I was like, motherfucker.
but is that
Yeah.
a sign to go to New Zealand or to not go to New
Well, this is the
Zealand?
thing about signs, isn't it? They appear and it's really what your heart wants, which will dictate how you
It tells
determine
you
it.
what you deep down wanted,
Yeah.
but couldn't admit to yourself, or couldn't decide.
Exactly.
And so you took that to say, I'm turning around and going back to Tahoe.
Well, I think when you...
No, I thought that meant he would go to
Did you go to New Zealand or did you go back to Tahoe?
Yeah, I went to New Zealand, of
No,
course.
that
okay,
was
great.
what let him.
That's the sign.
That is he needed
Great.
he went
So like,
back to
I
New
close my eyes,
Zealand.
like, give me a sign, and it brings up
Rosemary's Ice Cream.
John's Burgers, Rosemary's Ice Cream, in big flashing lights. Just says Rosemary, big flashing lights. I think if that's not a sign,
I mean, that's...
I don't know how
Basically
much
like,
more
go,
literal.
go, 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 go. You gotta go.
I don't
Okay.
know how
So you
much
kept
more.
going. You went back to New Zealand.
I kept going. I got on a plane to New Zealand. I met a guy in the airport with a guitar called Paul Mason, who's a phenomenal guitarist in Australia. Fast forward the story many months after I've been there and done whatever, and it actually turned out to be an amazing thing. We didn't get back together, but she said to me that she was very happy I'd come eventually because she was stuck in a very bad relationship, and it took seeing me again to realize it was a whole story after that.
But it was a
have
needed
that.
closure for everybody. Even though it didn't work out, you're glad you went, you saw each other.
It kind of did work out because it led me onto these paths of meeting all these other people that are now every day in my life and have led my career. I did all this by thinking I'm going to stop taking music seriously because it's just frustrating. I don't know how I'm supposed to keep this going with the whole band and everything. And then 9 months later, I'm recording in Neil Finn studio in New Zealand, and everything's on fire. And all I did was say, I'm not chasing music, I'm chasing a girl. I'm going to follow serendipity wherever it takes me and say yes to pretty much everything that comes along. And the universe conspired to sort of change everything. It was nuts.
I think in general, if you just do whatever the fuck you want, you're gonna be pretty content.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Good plan.
With
It's
a
good plan.
consideration to how that affects the people around you.
Yeah. Don't crush other people to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it feels so attainable for some people. Like, oh, that guy, he just does whatever he wants. How does he do that? It's like, well, because he does whatever he wants. Like, that's the only difference between you and that guy. Is that
he,
guy does whatever he wants.
Stopped subscribing to all the
Yeah.
rules
He
and
just
all the
did it.
shoulds.
In fact, I should mention that it was that led me to AJ. Without that trip, I was in Queenstown in New Zealand, hiking a mountain, heartbroken as hell, because she initially didn't want to see me at all, and I obviously respected that. And I'm wearing basketball shoes, going out for coffee, and ended up on top of a mountain and lost the path. And then I bumped into one lowly traveler who's also lost the path. And there's AJ, and his
that's
brother's working on the Mission Impossible 6 movie or something, or 5 or
Sick.
something like that.
I love those movies.
And so I spend time with this dude, and then we reconnect in Indonesia, and then we reconnect again in the US, and now he's one of my good friends, and we always meet up whenever I go, and it's...
And had you not met AJ, we would not have met, because the impetus of our friendship was that you and AJ... What brought you both to Sayulita? Did you bring AJ, or did AJ bring you to Sayulita?
I brought AJ to Sayulita.
So you brought AJ to Sayulita to shoot a music video, or had you been
Yeah.
there already?
I'd been there once already.
Okay, so
But
maybe I would have met you
briefly
anyway
before.
without AJ. Forget it.
I don't know. No, because it was AJ that said he was dropping me off at the airport in San Francisco, and he was like, the mix for We Had It All had just been finished, and we played it in his van on the way down, like 3 a.m, and he was like, I'm going to make you a music video for this song. And I said, I don't have any money. And he said, I don't care. This is a great song. And he's like, get to Mexico, we'll figure it out. I got to Mexico, and then someone else who should be mentioned at some point, her name's Sarah, a beautiful lady from Portugal. She wanted to help me out. She called me up. Long story. Anyway, she wanted to pay for me to get a music video done. So then I called AJ. I was like, we've got a budget. And he was like, right, I'm coming down. You get the lay of the land. And it was through investigating the locals as to like places to do it and like people to help out with certain things that I met Janelin and JC. And then JC came up with the idea for the music video that comes out at the end of this month. And then that's what spurred him to get you to come down for the shooting of all of that, so we could have a That Kid Is You concert at the same time. That's how we all met.
JC basically plunked plunked out a concept for a music video for you.
At 4 a.m. in his boxer shorts.
And loafers. He's always got great loafers.
He's
I've
got good
noticed.
loafer game.
If I've noticed anything about him.
It's funny working with JC because we actually had this conversation yesterday because we're trying to sell this TV show right now. And he had some idea, and I was like, because we need...
Tell me about that.
Well, so our show is going to be called That Kid Is You, and it's a travel show, sort of like Anthony Bourdain, where at the heart of Bourdain was food. At the heart of our show is music. So we're traveling to a country to make music. That is the purpose. We get there, we have a host, but we also kind of mess around and hang out with people. And it's also about kind of demystifying this art of making music.
Yeah, anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it. And it's easier than you think.
Especially today.
Yeah.
Especially today. But there are also so many people who walk around with the belief that I'm not creative. I can't
know. Isn't
dance.
that nuts?
I can't paint. I can't whatever. And
some people can't dance.
Some people can't fucking sing.
or can they though?
I'm kidding.
what is singing and what is dancing? So
That's a good point.
True.
It's only what society believes.
so
it to
anyway,
be.
that's the
And
show.
how does it
Hey, there you
feel?
go. That one
That's a good
popped
pop.
up.
We might have hit the rim there. But JC
Smells
was
like
saying,
it.
he was like, we were talking about we need investors. I was like, look, dude, realistically, we can't go to someone with this. Like, there's no ROI, there's no return on investment of paying for us to record an album. Anyway, JC was like, look, you're realistic and that's good. I'm unrealistic. Like, and JC's like, I'm going to be unrealistic.
So wait, that's like, is he? That's cute. I love that this conversation happened.
Yeah. JC was like, okay, look, I get it. I'm
He's
going to be
right.
I'm a big dreamer over here. I'm going to be unrealistic. You're really realistic and we need that too.
Wait, it's also
But like, I'm going to stay unrealistic.
It's also so funny because I feel like Paul is so dreamy and unrealistic, and I'm the realist. So like, how am I to JC? I don't even understand how that would
JC,
work.
you're like fucking Dwight D. Eisenhower or something. You're just like sitting there with studios.
I'm
with-
perplexed.
You're
It's
just
not
saying,
about
hey,
me.
now.
It's okay. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I have big dreams. I think we will sell the show. I think we will have a house with a big property where we have this dope $15 million studio on it. I believe it wholeheartedly. But I'm not going to walk in a room and tell someone, you should give me $2 million to do this, and not realize that they're going to need some realistic, return from that.
Some people don't know.
Some people don't.
Some people just need to believe in you. And to some people, $2 million isn't that much. To most people, it is a lot, but to some people, it's not.
Right.
And to some people, $5,000 isn't enough. But honestly, people just need to believe in you. They don't necessarily need to believe in the return of investment. And the people that do need to believe in return of investment aren't investing in creative activities, to be honest with you.
Yes.
But the people that believe in you and music and the power and like you said, the rebellion of it,
Yeah.
they just need to be sold on you.
Right. So this is sort of my current struggle. Like, am I right to be the realistic one, part of the team, and say, Christine's just not buying this. Am I right to be the one to say like, no, we got to cheers
To realism.
to realism,
Eyes.
to being super realistic in everything we do.
Thank you.
Like, am I helping by sort of being the counter argument to the unrealisticness, recognizing the value of the unrealisticness, but coming at it with realisticness?
You're right.
Or am I stifling the entire process by being this like realistic sort of nagging weight?
Are you being
in the
true to
process?
yourself?
But I mean, how is the realism manifesting in the example? Like,
The realism is manifesting in like, all right, if we want a show, that means we need to sell a show. That means we need to pitch a show. That means we need to have
a pilot.
a pilot or something to pitch.
November, we'll do a
and we
pilot.
need to have, it needs to be sort of provable, at least in some extent, to that will work. But whereas I think
So what does
JC
work
is just
mean?
saying,
What does work mean? Like
make
work.
money.
Yeah.
Or
That's,
be made.
What production company
Be made.
is going to say, sure, I'll make that show and not think it's going to make money?
well,
Now,
to be-
maybe they can be
how-
sold on just like, you guys are just dope and I believe in this. And I think not only do people with money want to sort of say like, dude, I discovered Justin Bieber, but they want to say, and I got rich off of that. Like, I'm getting a piece of that too.
I think it's a mirage of things, isn't it? It's a sliding scale.
Yes.
Honestly, it depends on the person.
Sure.
And also, like, how many things do production companies fund that don't make it even onto their airing schedule, let alone flop once they're there?
Right.
Most of them.
Yes.
You know, so they're very prepared to put money into an idea that doesn't go anywhere. But so really and truly, you have to sell them on the idea of who you are and that what you do is authentic and brilliant. You don't have to sell them on that it's going to appeal to thousands of people. They have other teams for that job, you know?
Yeah. So maybe I'm too realistic, Christine. What do you think about that?
I disagree. I think if you are being true to yourself.
But I can't tell. I can't tell if I'm being fearful and if I'm standing in my own way, or if I am helping this thing actually come to fruition, to go from a dream to reality.
I can assure you are helping this move closer to the finish line.
I mean, if you're turning down meetings because you're not
At
sure.
least from where
sure
I'm
not.
si-
I would
at
never
least from
turn
where
down
I'm
any
sitting.
meeting. I just want to go into the meeting though prepared. I wouldn't just say, okay, we're gonna book this meeting with this guy and we're just gonna go tell him we're fucking dope. We're dope.
No.
I would be like, he's not gonna just buy that we're dope. You got to show him something.
See, me and you are very similar in that sense. Like,
You get funding for things. I've never got funding for anything.
Yeah, but I have nothing to do with how I get the funding. The way that the funding comes to me is by sources that I have no idea exist. I.e., I'm mid-tour in California. I'm playing shows. A sort of recent friend of mine turns up and then cooks us a barbecue, and then he's just quizzing me about all these songs he heard that's not on Spotify. And I'm like, yeah, let's, we got to get to the studio. And he's like, well, how much? And I'm like, well, the studio that is on offer is this much, but I'm ways away from that. Well, I'll fund it. I'm like, well, it's probably not going to make you any money doing the you thing. And he's like, well, I want to start a production company anyway. I believe in you. I think this could go somewhere. And I'm like, look, you just have to be aware that I cannot pay this back. I don't want to incur more debt. I'm still paying off my first record. Not too much now, but enough, and he's like, doesn't matter. I'll take, I don't know, a certain percentage of any profit made from it, understanding that so far your music hasn't actually produced any profit to write home about. I was like, well, if you're happy with that, I'll take it. And he's like, sweet, because all he's seeing is me being authentic and being me and doing what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I should have, being realistic is not bad, but being doubtful is not helpful.
I wouldn't.
And I don't think I'm doubtful.
No.
But I walk the line. I walk the thin line, and I think sometimes.
Oh my god!
I think
if you knew the baseline for everybody else's confidence, what do you mean you're doubtful? You are not. You are fucking.
I think I have stood in my own way.
You are not doubtful.
A few times, and I'd like to not.
I think you have been probably since your accident, solely committed to sharing your music and your creativity with the world. Sharing your love. You have totally done that for a long, long time.
So, but this is what I toy with. So, when we were getting ready to release the Argentina album, we were talking to Nico, who's the producer. Amazing. Shout out to Nico Kelwell.
We love you, Nico.
We miss you. We love you. But we were talking about, trying to do this, trying to do that, and trying to work around everyone's work schedules because I got a job, JC's got a job. And Nico said, if you really believed that this was going to be successful, you'd quit your job right now. If you knew for a fact there was success around the corner, you'd quit your job right now. If you really believed it, you drop everything. And
it's
so
the distinction between belief and knowing, isn't it?
Belief and knowing, but also, I don't know. I don't know, but I feel like I'm still moving towards it.
You are. I mean, you really have to keep the lights on to keep making music, right? You need to pay your energy bill.
Of course, and I like that we're sort of comfortable in this endeavor, which is an incredible gift to be financially stable while trying to become an artist.
You also have me. You have your ball and chain to think of.
Of course, and I have a future
know,
family.
I don't
that's
think
what I
you're
feel
a ball
like.
and
This,
You are no ball and chain.
Did you not
is
hear
this
the
what
words
is
of that?
coming up?
Did you not hear the words of the song? You're a slice of home for the doubtful. That's what you are.
I do have a song called Ball and Chain where I literally say you're my ball and chain.
Yeah, so I don't know.
But it's an endearing ball and chain. No, but I mean, we have kids
But
in
no,
the future.
I didn't fucking
and
know those lyrics.
I-
Is this off of your? That was from your. I don't know.
Those were John's freestyle about, well, I don't, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Anyway, I toy with this. In the end, I feel good about where I'm at and what I'm doing, but I do question sometimes, why has it not happened yet? Something I'm doing has not yet
Because statistics are stacked against you. Because you are
they, though?
statistically, you are statistically at
Okay, fine.
odds.
Statistics, but why do the majority of people fail?
Because they give up. I don't know.
I don't have a quick answer.
So first of all, there's a few things you have to define. You have to define what success is.
Yeah,
because
that's
success
important.
to you,
I've tried to ask him that too. Like, what does it mean
It's
to be
different to
successful with
everybody.
That Kid Is You? What does it mean to be successful with the Elk Lodge podcast? What does it mean to be successful with Modern Mystics? Like,
It's different for everybody.
It doesn't have to be monetary. There was one point where all that was eating at you in this entire world was that you hadn't shared your music.
Sure.
So you've already reaped massive success. You've shared
I-
so much.
I'm sort of harping on this. I don't like walk around being like, I'm blowing it, I'm fucking up. But I don't just blindly accept that I'm not. Maybe
exactly.
I am.
But
Maybe
what
I
is
am.
it? Was it Aristotle or Socrates? I think it was Aristotle who said, an unexamined life isn't worth living. And he said that while he was getting sentenced to death because the questions he was asking were a danger to what was the name of the court at the time? I can't remember. Basically to the government, because he was asking questions, about life and humanity. And so he got killed. But one of his last, I don't know why I had that bit in it, but in his last statements was, he had a choice between exile and death. Exile meant that he couldn't return to Greece and he couldn't do Athens, and he couldn't study and read his books and be with his compadres and
Fuck all these
investigate.
boys. No.
Yeah, he couldn't do that. And he chose death. And he was like, look, an unexamined life isn't worth living. So I think that's really important that you can walk around and in one person's eyes you're extremely successful. And in my eyes, you come across as a super confident, not cocky. So there's a difference there. Confident that comes from just being peaceful and content. Dude who, at any chance he can get, will give his energy to somebody else, free of charge, just because he wants to do it. Right? Those are values that I aspire to. So in my eyes, I'm one day I could be like Paul. Paul is teaching me so many things about stuff. It really is. It's so
Thank you for saying
so
that.
from one perspective, you come across like that. To someone who just sees you walking down the street, maybe with your top off, with your funky tattoos, they might be like, this guy blowing it like big time. And no one, and to your boss, you're probably someone else, and to Christine, you're probably somebody else. The identity of you isn't even known by yourself because you yourself are excluded from everybody else's perceptions of knowing. You can hear words, you can take them on, but to know it, this other side of you that nobody else can know, which is all your internal thoughts. So it's really lovely when you share those and you're like, well, sometimes I just think I'm blowing it because...
Mm-hmm. Of course, sometimes everybody thinks they're blowing it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to ignore the fact that maybe I'm blowing it. I don't want to be somebody who cannot accept that. Maybe you're blowing it. Maybe there's probably something you could be doing better, or there's something you're doing you should stop doing.
Of course, there's always things
Exactly.
you could be doing better.
Well, I'm just trying to recognize that. And maybe some of the things I'm doing are in my way. And I think I'm doing the right thing. I think I should be like, ba. But maybe that's not the right approach.
Hence why you have to go back to your definitions of success. Because that will really tell you whether you are blowing it or not. Because some things that might be in your way monetarily, i.e. being conscientious enough to give you and Christine enough time together. So you're not always taking all the things you could be taking. I'm just making that up.
Of course, right.
But let's take that as an example.
Sure.
One part of you might see that and be like, that's really getting in my way of pursuing my career. But then your idea of success isn't just to have a great career, it's to have a home with a studio, with a wife, with children, with like, and so giving time to your relationship and your partner is in line with that.
Yes.
You know,
no, there's never any question about like if something like that is worthwhile. But I see what you mean.
Yeah.
And I am confident. Like I know where I'm gonna end up. I know how my story ends. I know it.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
But
that's very confident.
Do you know it in a sharing way, or?
I mean, I think I will have the property with the dope studio on it, and with the art studio on it, and with a cool house, and with Christine, and it will work out. You know, like I know that's kind of how it goes.
And do you know what costs you're willing to accept?
What cost?
Yeah. Do you know what you're willing to accept in order to achieve those things? Because everyone has a line.
I don't fully understand.
So like, things will arise within that pursuit, which you'll have to make decisions upon. And there's like, everyone has a line like, I am willing to do this, but I'm not willing to do that, no matter how big mine is.
So if I had to like work and ignore my family to get to that end, that doesn't work. But also in that end, I don't just have these things. I have a good family, and like we're all connected and we feel good about it. But I guess my point is, I know I'm going there, and throughout my life, at times I go, hey, hold on, like maybe you should kind of turn direction, or actually you're doing this one thing. There's for everybody, there's at least one thing you're doing that is holding you back, and you know what it is. If you really ask yourself deeply, what's that thing I should be doing?
Or I should not be doing.
Or I should not be doing.
I believe that. I stand in my way all the time.
We all do. And it's perfectly okay. But I would rather always question it, face it, say, oh man, oh fuck, I fucked up. I've been fucking up. I got to change. And I'm not opposed to asking the question, am I fucking up? Am I the one holding this whole thing back?
Well,
It's at least worth asking. I don't beat myself up about it, but am I the one holding the whole thing back?
And that's.
I think I'm a big part of it too. I'm
I think
also
all you
pushing
need
it forward.
to do,
But
all you need to do is just say, JC, how can I support your creativity? And then your process is your own, you know?
no, I think actually what we need is what we have, which is one guy who is just plunking through it, and one guy who is a little more realistic, like walking into a pitch or walking into a room. Like we're a good team.
You need a plunker and
we need a plunker, and we need someone who's tight to the metronome and gonna fucking
Yeah, it's a good combo.
make it happen. Like I think,
and a clicker.
I think we're a great
you
team.
know
I
what's
can't do what
interesting
JC
too,
does.
for like, I don't know, in our relationship stuff, it's like it's very easy to live. It's hard to not live in the future. Like, well, what, if this happens, then what does that mean for that? And if like all of a sudden you're on a global tour, what does it mean for us? What does it mean for our vision? You know. But I think there's no sense of making false ultimatums, like this idea of forcing a choice. And I think I was trying to reassure you of this the other night, of like, you know, I don't think it has to be either or all the time. And, you know, like we will always try things, and as opportunities come up, you roll with them and you say yes to the things that excite you, and you say no to the things that make you stressed. And then you keep moving forward, and you have to reevaluate and see what's working and what's not, you know? Mm-hmm. That just it changes. You're right. Like you have to check in and see what's what along the way. And that becomes complicated if you have kids or family, you know, a family to consider. But
I guess I just have no problem recognizing that I still like have a job. I still have to go, and I have a boss who tells me what to do, and then I get paid to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to not. I've always wanted to not. Yet I've never been able to quite pull it off. So there's something I'm not doing correctly.
You don't. Well, the thing you're not doing correctly is not quitting a job. I'm not saying you should.
But you're right.
But that's the thing you're not doing correctly.
Correct.
Well, that's what he wanted to hear.
If I quit the job, which trust me, I've tried.
What he wants. Just quit
but
the
I
job.
love my job. As far as jobs go, it's amazing. And I know Scott sometimes listens to the show. I don't think Steve ever listens, but I love my job, and I'm very grateful for it. But but I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. It's a tortured existence sometimes, but overall, I feel good about life.
Well,
This turned into a really expose
let me
on
ask
me
you
more
both.
than
Let
John
me
Mason,
ask you
but-
both. Like, you've been musicians for a long time. So what do you think it means to be successful as a musician? You know, what does that
It's
look
different. It changes every day.
like? It changes all the time for
Changes
you.
every day.
So with this new album in the work, I mean, what do you want for this album?
This is
What
the first
it?
album I've ever made where I don't have any energy to spend on what's the word? Like thinking about what it may or may not achieve for me. I don't have any, I've done that. Like, I'm over it. I have nothing left to give on the things outside of just making it. And you know, like the one thing I know the one thing I don't want, and I thought a lot hard about this before I allowed my buddy to pay for the sessions as well, was that the one thing I don't want and I can't have is another set of recordings that don't get finished, because I have so many of those. And the longer you go in timeline after starting the session,
The less you like
the
them?
less you're going to be able to go back and
Right.
finish it, because it's how you felt then. It's not how you feel now. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's what you thought then. It's not what you think now.
I do know what
You
you
do
mean.
know,
I
yeah.
do know what you mean.
So like there's this line which I know, which is like, I need, if these songs are really going to be finished and recognized, which is all I can hope for now, and I'm happy with that for the time being, we need to finish it like at the end of the month. So I'm pressing Nate. I'm like, dude, I found another little bit of funding. We can get the mixing done, blah, 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 blah. I want to do one more song. And if we go up to Vancouver in November, which it looks like we're all good for, we can do one more song there, blah, blah. Anyway, but the idea of success, it goes out the window. And then what about this? What if you take another step back, right? And you think more therically about the situation? Because we all have to come into the everyday thought processes, or like we were talking about, you know, the future, like what do I need, what my family need, blah, 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 what if, blah, blah, blah. Like there's a usefulness in that, but it's not present. And it's often, if not always, never correct. Like we're just not clever enough to understand every variable that life can throw our way. But one thing we can do is step back and be really etherical about it. And it's fun, if not anything else. Like the cliched thing of like, well, what if you died tomorrow? Like it's such an important question. We avoid death in our culture, but in other cultures like Hinduism, they're required to think about death for like 5 minutes a day, and it's not a morose thing. It's more of a calibration and like self-examining. Like, what am I doing right now that if I died tomorrow, I know I shouldn't be doing? You know, what habits are just silly? You know, and you know, in any way, and how do I want to be remembered? Or how, like, if this is my last act, what should it be?
Yeah.
You know, if this is my last show, what should it be? This is my last recording session. What should I give
Beautiful
it?
thing.
You know, and like, and then step another level back, because some of my friends are really floating around on the ceiling, as it were. You know, a little like.
I mean, you do live in Sayulita, you know?
I don't actually.
Well, you did, I
I
guess.
did.
It's
About
a
I'm
mystical
talking
place.
about everywhere. You know, like.
Yeah. A
There's
lot of plunkers.
To Mars. Lots of plunkers to Mars.
which is such a hilarious.
The plunkers
word.
are beautiful. I love the plunkers.
If my dad met JC, he would say, "What a fucking plonker."
What a plonker is.
He would say that's exactly how my dad would say it, because in his generation of he's English, in his generation of Englishmen, like plonker is like the nicest bad word you can say about someone. It's like
Plonker.
it's
Like saying
identify.
it's kind of kooky or something.
It's
like
kind of
that.
saying like, you know, our values do not align, but I love him anyway.
Right.
Like, and if JC and my dad ever met, he would just be like,
Plonker.
bit of a fucking plonker, mate.
You know how plonker he is. Well, but it's so funny because like Nico and I are always pretty much on the same page of like what this song needs, kind of what we're kind of building, and then JC will come in and just plunk something out, and it at first it's like wrong, sounds wrong, and then it's like, oh no, that's the whole song. That's everything actually what JC did. So like I need JC, and I don't think I'm like the most rigid, realistic person. I'm not like under that perception
I
myself.
think Christine has made that fully
for
apparent.
sure. But
We squashed that.
squash
I
that one.
need a plunker. I need a plunker, and
We
that's
do-
why I
we
got
all
my
need
boy
a-
JC.
we all need a
We'll plunk.
plunker.
We
I'll
all
plunk.
need a plunker.
I'll
But
plunk,
we all need that Nico character or that Nate character who's behind the ship being
Well,
like,
who do the plunkers need? The plunkers need.
you can plunk in 1 hour, but I'm doing this first.
Yes.
Because unless I do this, your plunking is just fucking
Unless
blunt.
Right. I'm
I
gonna give
set
you a
up
shift.
for 6
Plunk.
fucking
Plunk
hours,
across.
you're not going to hear that goddamn plunk.
I don't want your plunk to sink our ship, so I'm
It's
making our
like,
ship tight.
and I don't know who I am in this scenario, and I'm not, but it's like Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. Steve Wozniak Steve Wozniak built the Apple computer. Steve Jobs sold the Apple computer.
Lucky they were both called Steve, eh?
Lucky
It's
the couple
easy
of
on
Steves,
phone
greatest
calls.
Steves. Yeah, yeah. Is this Steve? Well,
Good
yeah.
pair.
Oh, yeah.
Good
But
pair. Talk about the
but without
first
Steve Jobs,
Rosemary's
without
ice
Steve
cream.
Jobs, there is no Steve Wozniak.
Are
Without
they-
Steve Wozniak, there is no Steve
Are they
Jobs.
still friends?
No.
No, actually, Steve Jobs is dead.
All right.
But Steve Wozniak he has a lot of.
You can still be friends when
He's
they're
got a
dead.
lot of beef. But if they ran into each other, if Steve Jobs randomly came back to life, I'm sure there's friendship there. But we had Steve Wozniak
Well,
on
he'd be
Steve-O's
excited for
podcast,
sure. I
and it was
mean, it'd be
fucking
extenuating circumstances. He'd be like, Steve Jobs, what are you doing here?
like,
I thought you
were
died back in
dead, bud."
2018 or something.
Yeah, but then he'd be like,
don't know.
well, I talked to the devil. I sold him on this idea
Yeah.
that if I just put me back in the world, I'll get everybody
cool. And he's like, there you go, plunking again.
fucking plonking.
So I'm not saying I'm Steve Wozniak, and nor is JC
but
Steve
this-
Jobs, obviously. But
So this puts me back at like, you take one more step back etherically and like let's just assume that consciousness carries on in whatever form that nobody on earth can know, even though they might tell you they know. They don't. Nobody knows. But let's assume consciousness continues, other dimensions, whatever you need to, right? And let's assume that this slight moment of consciousness that we have, which we call our lives, is in fact either being watched or at least perforating into that larger consciousness. Therefore, success isn't defined by what you can get in this tiny life, like how many houses you can have, blah, 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 blah. Success is defined on how much you permeate into the bigger, etherical, infinite consciousness. And maybe in that consciousness, there's other beings that are watching us, rather entertained. Like, look at these guys just running around, thinking all this stuff.
Spectators.
so it's not only what you leave behind, but what your soul sort of carries beyond.
Yeah.
And
It's what-
in that, because in that moment, maybe that guy that we saw today, we went up to that abandoned zoo in, what's it called?
Griffith Park.
Griffith Park. And there was a dude, like very stereotypical hippie dude, slightly chubby, long hair.
Was there a bandana?
Has his acoustic, it was a bandana, had his acoustic out, and he's rocking out in this engagement that'll probably go home like a polar bear or something. And he looks, and he's got the biggest smile on his face. And he looks up at us, and we're walking past, and he's like, oh, be careful of the security man, the head of security, you don't want to get on this stage. And he just starts rocking out. And he's not saying it ultimately like he believed he was at Red Rocks. He was more making a joke to let us know that he knew that he wasn't really like, but maybe that his little concert there is actually being watched by a gazillion other conscious things in worlds that we can't understand, in which case maybe he's fucking rocking it. Maybe he's more famous than Pearl Jam. Who knows?
I think
Right.
if his soul is as equally fulfilled in that stage with no audience as the person at Red Rocks with the full audience, then yeah, presumably the energy is the same.
Sure.
People could be watching.
The most fulfilled
Something
person
could be watching.
doesn't need it to make a song for others to hear.
Exactly.
It's
You know,
beautiful.
like we are,
This is
we're
so
flawed humans, and we're just trying our best.
Have you heard that song? Jeff Buckley covered it. It's an old
Hallelujah?
blues. It's an old blues song. It's not Hallelujah. It's called
Then I
Satisfied
don't know.
Mind. It's like everyone thinks that if I had all my money, I'd do things my way. But it's hard to find a rich man in 10 with a satisfied mind. The richest of men is a pauper at times compared to a man with a satisfied mind. I did a real plonk over the lyrics there, but the lyrics are beautiful. The way Jeff Buckley sings it,
he's amazing.
He
He haunts me.
He's pretty good, huh?
He's
Haunts
the
me.
best.
Well,
Yeah,
but I mean,
yeah.
the richer people get, the less financially secure they feel. Like they've done studies on this. People with tens of millions of dollars are more financially feel insecure than us.
And you know what? I would. Like,
Yeah.
this is something like
It's scary.
A couple of my friends are extremely wealthy, and they react to different political environments very differently to I do. And then when I really put myself in their shoes, I'm like, I have nothing to lose, really. Like, I have a few zeros in my bank account, like very few. Like, I know I could buy you guys lunch tomorrow, but then you might have to buy me dinner. Like, but like, these guys, they have something to lose.
Right.
And that changes how you interpret everything. Really does. I'm not like saying, oh, that's so difficult for you guys. How much of a woe that is. No, because some people don't even have a meal and they're getting bombs dropped on them.
Yeah, of course.
But it is a perspective that I think
It is.
everybody needs to understand.
Well, and we crave. So whatever your definition of success is, if you had it tomorrow, you'd feel the same. You would just crave something beyond.
Maybe. Unless
I
you
think
have
you
a
would.
practice that can bring you into the present. Like,
But you think you'd ever get to that moment where you're like, that's it, I did it.
I
I'm
would
good.
certainly
I'm
hope
good.
so. Listen,
don't
this
think
guy's
that's
like,
possible.
it's never coming.
at
It's
least
never coming.
You
It is
don't
never
think
coming.
you're ever going to look around and be like, man, I fucking arrived.
Maybe on my deathbed, I will
At
say
least-
this was good.
I have to
At
pee
least-
too intensely to
All
even
right.
argue this fact.
That's okay. It's been a long podcast. We might as well wrap it up.
at least twice a week.
At least twice a week.
At least twice a week.
You'd feel like you made it.
Yeah, I do.
But
Give
then it would
yourself
go away.
twice a week. Meditate on it.
But how
for
often do you
twice
feel
a
now
week.
that you've made it? Twice a week?
I don't know. At least twice.
Sometimes I can tell myself, yeah, you're doing pretty good.
At
I
the
talk to
bottom
my
of
younger
every
self. and-
bottle of
Look, mate,
champagne, at least.
I just bought you champagne.
I'm feeling arrived.
We're making a podcast in LA and drinking champagne
a good
with a
life.
little Chinese fluff doll. I don't know what that is.
That came from Peru. My buddy Tato gave that to me when I was in the hospital.
Well, there you go. Peruvian
we got
fluff
luck
doll.
all around. Luck
Okay.
and love
wait,
and
wait.
gratitude.
John Mason.
This got,
JohnMason.com?
this got deep, didn't it?
Yeah, I love when it does.
John Mason
can
Music.
people? JohnMasonMusic.com. At John Mason Music on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Look up John Mason on Spotify. Out now is Sun Drunk. There's an acoustic version. There's a dope version with some cool kind of poppy drums. I did some backup vocals. Are those in there?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
They just...
And a new
They're in
album
there.
The
coming.
producer did his thing. The
There's-
producer
there's
did his
Belvedere?
You feel them more than you hear them.
Now you do hear them.
And
You hear the
Belvedere is coming.
tone. Boulevardier.
There it is. Not Belvedere.
Bouvardier's. And the music
Scratch
video comes out in 2 weeks.
In
Less
2
than.
weeks,
Less
which
than.
probably 1 week from here, or maybe by
What
the
he
time, maybe
said.
it's out now, but
30th of October. It's Halloween themed.
Yes.
Get dressed up. Look witchy. Look Indiana Jonesy. Not to give too much away. It's great. JC directed it. It's another example of
plunked it
his
out.
plunking.
Way to
His
plunk, JC.
plunk,
We
way to
love
plunk.
you.
the man can plunk. All right.
AJ shot it.
AJ shot it, who's secretly here. But hey, thank you for doing this, my
Love
good
you
friend.
guys.
Yeah, thank
we
you
love
for
you
rallying.
I love you a lot. You
You're-
guys
you're
are
one of our
phenomenal
favorites,
human
honestly,
beings.
yeah.
You're phenomenal human beings. Thank you so
Good
much.
to have you back here.
All right.
Let's go make some music.
Yeah, let's fuck around a little bit.
Woohoo!
All right. Good night, everybody.
Freaking naughty.